That was fantastic. And now here we are. I've got the brilliant Dan Belmont back with me, proprietor of Good Wine, Good People, the home of the New York Bottle Shop. He's got it down, nailed it. Welcome back.
How you doing, mate?
I am literally fantastic. Over the moon to have you here.
Happy to be here.
And we talked, we caught up before and talked a lot about kind of Finger Lakes and brilliant. I mean, really, to me, that was my comfort zone in terms of New York State wines, right? And you were so fantastically kind of evocative of that place that wanted to get you back in. And you've rocked up with Long Island.
Long Island.
As a thing.
How you doing?
It's exactly, this is it, exactly. So
Gonna get a cup of coffee.
it's, having done a little bit of research about it, on the way up here, just to keep up pace with you, it was, it became pretty obvious. It's an incredibly diverse region. It's, relatively little, but pretty long.
Sure.
There's a lot going on. Tell me all about it.
Yeah.
What's Long Island about?
It is a Long Island, and it starts in the west with Queens and Brooklyn, part of New York City, your 5 boroughs, and then you have the rest of Long Island, which is Nassau and Suffolk County, which makes up the Long Island American viticultural area. Okay.
Fine.
As you extend east, the island eventually splits into 2 forks. All right.
Yeah.
And this is where the majority of our premium winemaking is taking place.
So quite densely populated out in the west, and then as you head out east, you're talking about more like beach communities and lovely kind of woodwork buildings.
Colonial
sort of
architecture. I mean, it's American Main Street. It's quite nice. It has been growing mainly Vitis vinifera, which is unique to the kind of other regions in New York State. This kind of started happening after the vinifera revolution in the Finger Lakes. So we proved that we could grow vinifera in New York State, and then we looked to new exciting places, and we found ourselves at the east end of Long Island.
And so starting life in, I suppose, the 70s, as you say, kind of, this is, it's sort of a bit like English wine or something like that. It's sort of a hyper-modern industry. This is learned from other people's learnings, other people's mistakes, and has jumped straight in. Vinifera. But it sort of feels like it's still such a young area. I can't get a sense of really, varietals that define the region, styles that define the region. It feels like everyone's sort of having a bit of a party and up for it, and have blended lots of things. So, point proven.
Yeah.
We've got a Blaufränkisch on the table, and we've got a delicious white, which let's start with that as kind of stylistically what we're talking about.
Sure.
Cheers. But, the bill in terms of what's in this, the cepage is
It's broad. Outrageous. So we've got Chardonnay, we've got Riesling, we've got Pinot Bianco, we've got Gewürztraminer, and we've got Sauvignon Blanc.
There you go.
Right. So really a little bit of
the holy.
I think what is most impressive about this small area is the breadth of different varieties grown and vitified successfully in such a small place.
Yeah.
Right, where you are tasting Bordeaux reds, you are tasting Northern Italian varieties, you are doing German stuff.
Exactly.
It is a young industry, and so we have the benefit of being able to experiment. And so a lot of the best wines are these small batch, experimental series. I was there just this past November, and the best thing I tasted was a Melon de Bourgogne.
It's awesome.
Right?
How good is that?
Long Island Muscadet. I'm on board,
literally.
right? These really are. This is the Hamptons, right? Celebrity haunt. Beautiful, gorgeous, world-renowned beaches, and the wines are made to fit.
And land must therefore hugely be at a premium, right? If you're going to plant a vineyard there, you've got to commit to really doing something quite special. And so there's a community that drinks the wines. There must be, there's local, there's a kind of high disposable income local community that's up for lobster rolls and brilliant, delicious, kind of easy drinking foods. So, there's a sense of almost a kind of Provençal, Saint-Tropez fun to this.
Sure.
Climatically, though, it's got to be relatively chilly, doesn't it, at certain points?
It's a maritime climate. I mean, Wolfer Estate is about 2.5 miles from the Atlantic Ocean. Okay, but the way that the forks work is you have the maritime influence from the ocean, but then you're also protected by the Peconic Bay that splits the 2 forks, and then on to the north, bordering Connecticut, you have the Long Island Sound. And so there are these kind of little protected slivers of land where you have ultimately the warmest winters in New York State, right? Again, maritime climate, you're getting most of your precipitation during the winter, and then you're getting a lot of really great growing hours during the summers.
And so nice, hot, sunny days to ripen the grapes, relatively cold winters. it all kind of adds up to being quite a lovely place to make wine.
Yeah. Cool climate for sure, you know.
This is delicious. So I mean, obviously, it's got aromatics in there. It's got its Gewürztraminer, so it's quite highly lifted and aromatic and kind of, you know, leaping out of the glass. But there's nice tension there. There's really good acidity. Like that's a lovely glass of wine.
Yeah.
I mean, it does exactly what the label is professing to do.
I mean,
right?
and, you know, really nice design. The winemaker Roman Roth, you know, this series, this Summer in the Bottle, started with a rosé and then expanded to the white.
And Wolfer Estate is one of the originals. Really, you know, has been there pioneering the wines there.
Located on the South Fork. Both of these producers, actually, South Fork producers. The majority are going to be found on the North Fork. It's also where the majority of your vineyards are. That is the truly protected area.
Nice. Yeah. Let's talk about the red.
Absolutely.
So Blaufränkisch. How did this turn up?
Well, you know,
what was
Blaufränkisch.
Bordeaux varieties are a thing regionally.
Absolutely.
Blaufränkisch
Merlot is more planted than anything else.
Structurally, I suppose, kind of follows, but it's a big leap. So I guess it's probably evocative, maybe of, you know, a region where there isn't restrictions on what you can plant.
Absolutely.
You know, maybe it's sort of a winemaker's dream, I suppose, and probably attracts exciting winemakers who want to come and, you know, trial and test things out.
Yep. So this is 77% Blaufränkisch, all right, because it's got to be 75% minimum to be called Blaufränkisch on the label, right? That's a TTB rule. And then 23%, wait for it, Dornfelder. All right.
Is that right?
German variety Dornfelder, yeah. And so it's funny, you know, every winemaker, of course, gets their inspiration from somewhere. And, you know, Blaufränkisch, first thing that pops to my mind is it's AKA Lemberger, right?
Exactly.
But on the back label here, they actually refer to it as Franconia, which is the northern Italian name for it. And so, you know, these guys are doing Teroldego, they're doing Pinot Bianco, they're doing just, you know, really fun varieties. They're making a ton of different wines. This is only 120 cases, this run.
Minuscule.
Pretty much everything is small batch, which for me, that makes it exciting, right? Harder to find, sure, but exciting.
Well, that's the point of wine, right? Is it's an experience. We've sorted out, we've found it. Thank you for opening it, bearing that in mind. You know,
It's my pleasure.
What a thing to do.
You know.
If we're going to buy it in the UK, I mean, what are we talking price point wise?
Sure.
They're relatively premium wines.
Yep, relatively premium wines, and the winemaking certainly calls for the price point. This one sits about £30 on the New York Bottle Shop.
Nice.
Okay, and it does have UK importer, which is great. The Wolfer wine, I believe, retails in the States for about $26, but doesn't have an official importer here to the UK. You can find some of the wines in drips and drabs in certain shops.
And so, as with what we were seeing with the Finger Lakes being more established, probably more routes to market into the UK, you know, able to be found more, we're going to see more and more of Long Island wines.
I think we should.
100%.
You know, I think Finger Lakes has the benefit of having Riesling as its flagship, whereas Long Island is a little more happy to kind of just try a bunch of different stuff. And so Merlot and Chardonnay are your two most widely planted grape varieties.
Yep.
But man, I loved Malbec. I tasted Verdeo. I had Auxerrois. This was all at the same winery, right? This is, you know, these grapes are planted within 10 miles of each other. And so the diversity, I think, is just what makes it super fun and exciting.
And I think you're right. And that opportunity to be creative and to just kind of play around in that space. But talking about this kind of playful, kind of fun element, you know, the wines are serious. You know, that red, the Blaufränkisch there, there's incredible depth. There's a really lovely chewy tannin.
Yeah.
There is this kind of, there's obviously, you know, as you often get with Blaufränkisch, there's this real kind of spice on the finish, right? But sometimes Blaufränkisch, the fruit can be a bit jammy and over juicy and you know, a bit boring perhaps. That's got real tension.
I like chewy. Chewy's good. It's not sweeter or kind of candied really. You know, again, it is a cool climate. So you know, I think we are also backing away over the last kind of decade from high alcohol reds. You know, again, these are supposed to be sessionable. You know, fun beach. Come home, put your meat on the grill, open some oysters, and these wines work. So your reds are coming in now at 12-13%.
Bordeaux varieties sitting at 12.5, 13%. Phenologically flavor ripe, you know, that represents a proper opportunity for modern wine drinkers. Oz
Backing
Clarke
off
will
the
be
new oak too,
all over this, you know, all over the idea of you don't have to do it at 15% alcohol, right? What an opportunity!
But it's fun. I mean, every winery has a couple of amphora kicking about in the corner now too. There's a lot of experimentation. It's an exciting time.
You mentioned prior to us coming on this, pet nats is a thing.
Oh yeah,
you know,
well, sparkling in general. I mean, it's party. It's a party time. You know?
I hosted a delegation years ago of traditional method sparkling producers who came over to come and check out what was happening in the UK, and it felt like there was a huge amount of investment going into it, and real kind of drive. So look, I thank you so much for bringing them in, because I think it sounds like a brilliant region. I've got to go out there.
You should.
From a local.
Yeah, I mean,
someone who
I'm born and raised.
in your bones,
yeah,
right?
I probably grew up about 45 minutes from where these are produced.
I think go and check it out at the New York Bottle Shop with good wine, good people. Dan, thank you so much for coming in again,
It's my pleasure.
introducing this brilliant region to us. Now, we're heading off to...